I'm Steven with SideLine Scout, and here today with me is David Boudia.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys.
Really, want to get with you and kind of see what it's like to be an Olympic athlete getting ready for the Tokyo Olympics.
Mm-hmm.
And got a few questions for you today.
Yes, we do.
Just a couple. So we'll start out, what first got you into diving? And what was the moment you knew that diving was the sport for you?
Well, diving's not your typical sport. It's not like that's what you see on the television every day. So it's it actually goes back to '96 when I watched my first Olympic Games, and my family and I loved the Olympic Games and watched it for 2 weeks straight. And I just remember watching athletes walk into opening ceremonies and seeing women's gymnasts win all-around gold for USA, and the track and field events. And I just remember that's what I wanted to do when I grow up. And so naturally, I was a driven and sometimes annoying competitive kid, and the transition to something that seems absolutely not attainable, like the Olympic Games, is what I wanted. And so that's what I went for. Started in gymnastics and then found an easy transition where diving came into play.
So did you ever, when you watch those games, did you ever get an opportunity later in life to meet any of those people that you watched?
So I would say I've met most of those women gymnasts all around. It's kind of cool. The Olympic movement, I've had success in this sport. So I've been to 3 Olympic Games and won 4 Olympic medals. And so with that comes meeting Olympic legends. And it's been, a lot of times it's surreal because you look at someone like Shannon Miller or Carl Lewis or Apollo Ono, or just these big names that you see on TV every single day or every single Olympic Games. And the funny thing is you have this Olympic athlete tagged to your name, but they're just normal. I actually did an event with Carl Lewis. He was 80 track star a few months ago, and it was like he went from the event and he looked like a goofball because he had his tracksuit on, but he still had like his suit top on. And so we're just normal. We put our socks on one at a time, and but it is pretty cool to meet people that you looked up to growing up, and the ones that inspired you to want to chase after a dream like the Olympics.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
If you could be an elite athlete in any other sport, what sport would that be and why?
That's hard. I loved soccer growing up. I don't know if I'd want to run that much in a soccer game though. But I've always been interested. My freshman roommate at Purdue was a tennis player, and I just loved watching him play. I was terrible at it, but I watch all the major events on TV, and tennis is high up there. But I don't know. It's hard to what else would you do? Because you find your niche in diving and you're good at it, so you stay it and try to perfect it over time. And I think that's what's so hard about our sport is you can never be perfect. I've been at this for almost 20 years, and I've been to Olympic Games, but it's like every single competition there's always something else to work on. So I think that's why I love diving, and I can't picture another sport to be good at because this is so hard.
I can definitely understand that. Yeah, it's a constant battle.
It is.
So, with that in mind, if you could go back and talk to yourself when you were 16, what is the one piece of advice you would give yourself?
Well, after I kicked myself in the teeth, I think probably the biggest advice I give myself is to stay humble in the sport. I think a lot of times, especially there was a lull in my career where I just thought I had it together. Like I knew the answers, I knew what I needed to do in competition, and that was a huge pride thing. And so not being coachable, thinking that I had it together, I think humility really came into play, and I think that's what my coach, Adam Soldati, kind of opened my eyes to, and I think that's why I progressed after those lull years of punk kid.
anytime I had an opportunity that I met with somebody that has very accomplished or has done a lot of things and been successful in life, is I asked them, if you had to give somebody advice my age or something like that, would you do? Do you ever find yourself, doing that when you meet people been down that path, or are you able to pull from all these people that you meet?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, obviously I think this is trying to get to know me as a person and a diver, but I think one of the things that strikes me about you guys in particular with SideLine is the fact that you come into a pool and you're just absorbing everything, and you're not trying to come in and say, I think this is how you should do it. And so, that brings the humility, but I think every person you run across, there's always something to learn, some people more than others. But I think the coming into something where you're able to learn, having that kind of learner mentality I would think most successful people have that as their character traits.
I would agree.
Yeah.
So, growing up in Texas, how did you end up at Purdue, and what made you choose Purdue?
Yeah, so Purdue actually wasn't even on my radar. I grew up, I was born in Texas, moved when I was 7 to Indiana. There was a diving hub here, grew up diving in Indianapolis, but Purdue was kind of like, it was in my backyard. I don't really know a lot about them. I wanted to go to kind of those big schools you see on TV that have the football programs that are phenomenal and the athletic program that's top tier. Like Ohio State, they're always on TV, or Notre Dame, that's always on TV. So that was, I looked at a lot of different schools, and so I got a call out of the blue from Adam Soldati at Purdue. And I was like, well, I have a couple of visits left. They're an hour away. I might as well go up there. And it was like I fell in love. So even though Purdue wasn't in the spotlight at the time I was looking at schools, I was blown away by the program, that not just diving, but the whole athletic side, and then the campus. But probably the main draw was Adam coaching here and not making empty promises, selling me on something that he couldn't do. And specifically, I remember he actually did a home visit and sat down with my parents and I. We had dinner, and he said something that was kind of like this is what I'm going to do. He was like, I can't promise I can make you an Olympic champion, but I can provide an environment where a champion can be made. And for me, I was like, that's what I want. I don't want someone that says, I'm going to promise you to get to the Olympics and win the Olympic medal, but I can promise something that I provide at the pool that's going to make you work to get to there. And so that stood out to me, and I think it was only 2 weeks later I called him and I was like, I would love to come here if you would have me.
So he knew how competitive you were, obviously.
Yeah, and
he teed it up for you.
Yes, he did. Yeah, he had a good sales pitch, but I think what struck me the most was the sales pitch was actually, it was true. So that's why I've been diving so long. I think at Purdue, I've been here almost, I've been here almost 11 years. And the reason why I come back every day is because those promises are true, and he continues to help evolve me as a diver and as a person outside of the pool, and I just love it.
I'm assuming you're saying he's one of those coaches that always has something next planned to challenge you. Have you ever got to where you feel like you've reached a ceiling?
Yeah, not even so. In 2012, we won the Olympic Games, and we look back at footage, and it was a good competition. I won the Olympic Games, but we look back at footage and we could have made changes here and here and here. And so you look at that and you won the Olympic Games. That's how could you go better than that? But I think that's what makes us a good team is the fact that we're always looking for something that we can tweak to make better. And diving is such a technical sport where one small frame on a video camera that you're watching during practice can change the entire dive. And so because it's so technical, I don't think you could ever be, you can't be complacent in this sport.
David will return in the next episode on April 28th.